Okay, so today we're diving into a document that honestly just stops you in your tracks. It's not your typical research paper or news article. This is a formal, urgent petition that's been sent to the highest levels of global health and human rights. It makes some absolutely extraordinary claims, and we're going to break them down right now. I mean, right from the get-go, the language here is wow. It's pretty shocking. This isn't just a catchy headline for an article. This is a formal accusation from the document itself. The authors are signaling right away that this isn't about some minor complaints. They're alleging something far, far more sinister.
So what is this document? Well, it's a formal complaint dated January 16th, 2026. And get this, it's just the first of a planned series of 100 communications. It alleges severe violations of basic human rights, all happening within a medical setting.
And just look at who they're sending this to. We're not talking about a letter to the editor here. This is going to the World Health Organization, to major international human rights groups, and to medical boards. They are absolutely taking this case to the global stage, trying to get an intervention that goes way beyond any single country's borders. Okay, so what's at the heart of all this? What's the core accusation? Well, the petition makes it really clear. This is not about a simple mistake or a one-off case of malpractice. They're arguing this is something deliberate, something systemic, and it's all focused on the treatment of one single person. And here it is, the central claim, and I'm just going to read this to you word for word. We hereby formally declare that the treatment of Professor Dr. Mohamed Ibrahim Fayad transcends medical error and constitutes crimes against humanity. Now let's just pause on that for a second. Crimes against humanity, that is a very, very specific legal term. It's usually reserved for widespread, systematic atrocities. This is probably one of the most severe charges you can possibly level. So who is this person at the center of such a massive claim? The petition identifies him as Dr. Mohamed Ibrahim Fayad, and it points out two really crucial things about him. First, he's a heart transplant patient, which obviously makes him incredibly vulnerable medically. And second, he's a world-renowned scientist. And that context is going to be really important for what we see next.
All right, so to back up a claim this big, you need evidence, right? Well, the petition lays out what it calls 3 established facts. Let's walk through that.
And they kick things off with a very specific, very concrete number, $12,000. That's the bill they cite for just a single emergency visit that, according to the petition, completely failed. So right away, they're using this figure to anchor their argument about financial harm. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. They don't just list a bunch of complaints. They structure the allegations as a kind of deliberate 3-step process. First, they allege financial exploitation, sending fraudulent, inflated medical bills to basically cause financial ruin. Then comes step 2, calculated neglect. They claim he was deprived of essential medicine and care for a heart transplant patient. That's serious. And finally, psychological terrorism. The petition alleges the use of institutional racism and condescension, all designed to break his will. So when you put them all together, they're not just describing isolated problems, they're painting a picture of a coordinated, multi-pronged assault. Okay, so after laying out this pretty horrifying picture, the petition doesn't just stop there. It moves on to a clear call for intervention, and they have some very specific demands. So what do they want to see happen? Well, first, they're demanding an independent investigation into the medical institutions involved. Second, they're asking for financial restitution. They want these international bodies to force the insurance companies to pay what they owe and refund money that's already been taken. And third, and this one really stands out, they're calling for international protective care for Dr. Fayad. That basically says that they believe he isn't safe under the current system. And to close it all out, the petition includes a statement from Dr. Fayad himself. After all the legal language and formal claims, this really brings the human element right to the very front. And his words are incredibly powerful. He says, "God granted me a new heart so that I may continue to serve science and humanity. Yet they attempt to stop this heart through injustice. I will not remain silent until the world knows that the supposed paradise of American medicine is a hell for the honest scholar." Wow, that is quite a statement. He's framing this whole thing as a battle not just for his health, but for his entire life's purpose, against the system he literally calls a hell. So when you take a step back from all the details, this entire petition really forces you to think about one big question. Where is the line? At what point does a series of bad outcomes or questionable bills or poor treatment, when does that cross over from being a tragic medical error or even malpractice into something more, something that could be considered systemic, deliberate abuse? This document has certainly made its case, and now that question just kind of hangs in the air.
not just for these international organizations to answer, but for all of us to think about.